What is going on, guys? Welcome back to CpyNews, and we have some more tech and gaming news for you today. So let's get into our story, shall we? And our first story comes from MediaMatters for America. It's very weird name for a website. It says MediaMatters. After decades of climate deceptions, Shill uses Fortnite to court demographic most concerned about climate change. Now, I heard about this becoming a thing, and there was rumors that this was going to happen, and I thought it was stupid at the time, but it seems like it's actually going to become a thing. And that's basically where oil companies want to sponsor games, gaming events, as well as content creators and streamers to promote their product. The desperation in this is so real. So, most young people, we all know, want to phase out fossil fuels for good reason. There is no benefit to using them. In reality, there just isn't a benefit to using them. There is better solutions that we could use if we just bothered investing in it. And I'm not just talking electric vehicles, right? I'm not just talking electric vehicles. There's also biofuels and stuff that burn carbon neutral and everything. Like, we can retrofit vehicles to run on them and stuff. And hitting net zero is what's important, right? We need carbon neutrality. Like, I think when people think about climate change and stuff, they think like when people talk about green energy and everything, that we mean that there can't be any carbon in the atmosphere at all, that we mustn't pollute at all. But in reality, what we mean is responsibly using energy resources so we maintain carbon neutrality. We don't make it worse, we don't make it better, we just keep the earth how it is, right? That's the idea behind hitting net zero. Net zero doesn't mean zero carbon. Net zero means that you don't contribute more to the issue, right? I think that's what people don't understand. But anyway, Shell is aiming to reach this demographic, not by cutting its oils and gas development, but by video game advertising. The company is working with Fortnite creators and sponsoring popular gamers to promote its premium gas on the streaming platform Twitch, as well as on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. The campaign comes as a trade industry groups and energy companies have sought to use influencer marketing to humanize their products, even though the impacts of these products are driving climate change, jeopardizing the future of its target audience. In a 2021 survey of young people between 16 and 25 years old from 10 different countries, 75% said the future is frightening because of climate change. Oh, Shell's going to expand its natural gas business. Great. According to Bloomberg, its business plan puts oil and gas front and center while giving low carbon efforts a smaller supporting role. As you can see, these companies now, they just don't care anymore. They simply don't care anymore. Shell doesn't care anymore. The really stupid thing about this is that if they pivoted 100% the other way and actually from the beginning got on board with this, they could have made a killing in new technologies, right? Like, they could make so much money off the future by being first and having the best technology and implementing it in vehicles and in homes, right? And pioneering technology. But instead, they're just gonna continue down the oil and gas route, and it's not gonna end well for them. You have to adapt to survive, right? You have to change to market conditions. You have to change to world conditions. And I don't know. I'm not happy about video games companies getting on board with this, as well as streaming platforms allowing this. Frankly, I don't think this should be allowed, and I wouldn't respect any streamer from taking money from this. Let me know what you guys think about this down below. Do you think like this is just as insane and stupid as it sounds? Or do you think this will secure the future of Shell as our beloved oil provider? Our next story comes from GizmoChina. And this one's an interesting one. Microsoft to debut its first AI chip next month to reduce reliance on Nvidia. So we covered the story yesterday where we talked about OpenAI, who were looking at the possibility of developing their own AI chips for, you know, their programs like ChatGPT, like Whisper AI, and all the other, obviously generative stuff that they have. So they don't have to rely on Nvidia as much. And Microsoft is also going that route as well. And they all apparently have a chip that's ready and they're going to debut it next month. And Microsoft is likely to unveil its first AI chip next month, according to a report by tech publication The Information. The move is seen as a bid to reduce Microsoft's reliance on NVIDIA graphics processing units, which are in high demand, and yeah, blah blah blah. Microsoft's AI chip, codenamed Athena, is designed for data center servers. It is expected to compete with NVIDIA's flagship H100 GPU, which are currently used by Microsoft and other cloud providers to power large language models and other AI applications. So this was first reported in April of the year, and the chip is expected to be unveiled at Microsoft's Ignite conference, which is November 14th to the 17th. And I'll be interested to see where this goes. And it also says down here, actually, it mentions Microsoft-backed OpenAI is also reportedly exploring the possibility of developing its own chips. And yeah, I'll be interested to see where this goes. I want to see what these chips do. I would like to see the performance of them. I would like to see how competitive they are with workloads, because there could be some serious benefit to this, not just in the data center space, but in the consumer space, if these are efficient and work better than a general AI chip like the ones that are in NVIDIA cards. Because NVIDIA cards, right, their chips aren't designed for specific tasks. They're designed for general AI use. Whereas when a manufacturer and software developers like OpenAI and Microsoft start developing their own technology for their own products, they can optimize it in a way that competitors can't, in the sense of like general purpose use, right? Think about it like this when in terms of mining, right? We had mining on graphics cards, which was general purpose. And then you had the mining devices, I think they were ASIC devices, that were specifically designed to do that one computational task and were highly more efficient at doing it than just using a GPU, because they were specifically made for that purpose. So this is what I'm talking about when I say I think this will be interesting to see where this goes, because I think there could be some good consumer use for this, whether it's either using the services online or whether there might be a crossover into devices that people can buy for home use in the future to do certain workloads. But yeah, let me know what you think about this one down below, about Microsoft and OpenAI pursuing their own AI chips and basically breaking the reliance on NVIDIA, right? I think that's the big part of this, is more and more companies are seeing the problems with being reliant on NVIDIA and are taking action to break that reliance, which can only be good for the graphics community, the tech community as a whole, to have more competition in space, right? And this is an interesting one, which comes from FastCompany, which is about Google. And Google is launching Flood Hub in the US, which predicts when rivers will flood and warns people to evacuate. And apparently it's already active around other parts of the world. And this is really interesting. So in August, when heavy rain hit parts of Chile, tens of thousands of people had to evacuate their homes as their communities flooded. Many got a warning a couple of days in advance, thanks to a tool from Google called Flood Hub that rolled out in the country earlier this year. So before this existed, it was practically impossible to accurately predict when rivers would flood, says Yossi Matias, Vice President of Engineering and Research at Google. When a team at Google first started working on the problem 5 years ago, they didn't know if they'd be able to find a solution because of the complexity of understanding factors like topography, soil type, and how much water will reach an area during a storm. This was really kind of a moonshot in a way, he says. Can we use machine learning and other technologies in order to try and predict floods at some level of accuracy that would be valuable? The tool uses thousands of satellite images to build a digital model of the land in a specific area and then simulates how the river could flood. That's cool. So it makes a model of the area, then they use weather forecasts, and if the weather forecasts are accurate enough and you get the information in advance, they can warn people in advance ahead of a week. And most of the forecasts happen within 2 days. And like, that is a pretty good, head start on getting a warning for these types of events, right? Like, a week in advance, you can either get stuff moved if you think that, the flooding will be severe enough where it'll cause really bad damage to your house and home and, your property and stuff. Then you can relocate, the property that is valuable to you to a safe place. It also means like if the flooding isn't going to be that bad but there's still going to be some damage, then you can use, you know, flood preventative measures to protect your home and make sure that when the flooding does happen, that your home isn't affected as badly as if it just happened without your knowledge, right? And then also in the event that it's going to be super, super bad and it's going to be a catastrophe, you can get out of there, you can get to safety, you can get to somewhere else well before the water arrives. Because once the water arrives, that's when getting out is the problem, right? So I like this. I think this is cool technology. Let me know what you guys think down below about this, about Flood Hub and it being used to predict, flooding events and stuff. I mean, we've been doing climate forecasting for a long time, right? With weather forecasts and stuff like that. And, tornado seasons, warnings, trying to do predictive modeling and stuff. So I feel like it's cool that Google's pioneered sort of this technology for flooding. So we have another tool there to help, predict when these events are going to happen so it doesn't become a catastrophe. But let me know what you guys think. Our next story comes from TwistedVoxel. Alan Wake 2 dev claims Xbox Series S GPU/memory were a big problem for development. And oh boy, I do not like this story. I have so many problems with this story that we'll get into. But for me, this comes down to the laziness of game developers for optimizing their games. And you'll see why further down. So the Xbox Series S GPU memory configuration presented a big problem in development of Remedy Entertainment's Alan Wake 2. In a recent interview, Remedy's Entertainment Communications Director Thomas Puha was asked whether a console like the Xbox Series S is a net positive in the ID studio, and he said no, that it gives rise to some major issues. He elaborated by saying that the CPU is pretty close to the one in the Series X, and there isn't that much of power difference in processor power. However, the GPU is an issue. He mentioned that having less memory to work with is a pretty big problem. He went then to talk on about scalability and how it is often brought up in relation to making PC games. He said that memory is not a problem on PC. He pointed out that there's a massive difference in power between the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S. It's a lot easier to scale on PC because of memory not being a concern on the platform. What? So now you see the problem. Or at least I hope you guys can see the problem with what he's just said. Apparently, memory is not a problem on the PC platform. Has he not played on PC? Memory is a huge problem, right? Like, even between an RX 580 and a GTX 1060 Ti, right? There's massive differences there. I mean, it depends whether you have the 3GB version for a start of 1060 Ti, or you have the 4, or you have the 6GB version, sorry. Yeah, you either have the 3, or you have the 6. And then the RX 580, you might have the 4GB version, or you might have the 8GB version, right? But GPU cards go from, 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, well, 10, sorry. I don't know why we have 10GB, by the way. It's such a stupid number. But yeah, 10, 12, 16, 20, another stupid number brought by Nvidia, 24. There is a huge difference between that. And I see this as laziness on parts of developers. And I believe the main problem with this is they would rather all the hardware was exactly the same so they can just ship the game as is and don't bother having to optimize the game for the platform. They can just throw it out on the most powerful platform and it just runs how it runs and that's it. But this is so messed up to say that there isn't a problem with memory on PC. I feel like this isn't a person who's played PC games or understands PC hardware at all. Let's take PC and the Xbox Series S and X out of the equation as well. Let's pretend like there isn't a Series S. Even then, you have to optimize between the Series X and the PS5 and the Nintendo Switch. And, right, like, if your game's on multiple platforms, you've still got to optimize for whatever platform it's on, right? I feel like this is just such an out-of-touch comment. Anyways, guys, let me know what you guys think down below about this. About there being no problems with memory on PC. Like, it just doesn't matter because there's a bunch of configurations. For me, it personally feels like he's saying, well, if your game doesn't run on PC, that's your problem because you should have bought a more powerful PC. It's not our problem we didn't optimize for it because there is no problem. The problem's you, not us. Blame the consumer, not us, because we don't want to optimize. Our next story comes from CNBC, and this is an interesting one. It's about China, who's targeting a 50% power boost in computing power as AI race with the US ramps up. So obviously, stories like this come out all the time, but China plans to increase the country's computing power by 50% by 2025, which would be a substantial bump up. And I mean, that's like 2 years, right? Well, less than 2 years now, 18 months. So the world's second largest economy wants to increase its computing capacity to equal 300 extra flops. 6 government departments, including the powerful cyberspace regulator, said. So, an exaflop, refers to a unit of computing power. So 1 exaflop is equivalent to 2 million mainstream laptop computers. So if one's equivalent to 2 million mainstream laptop computers, then 300 is equivalent to 600 million mainstream laptop computers. So they want to do this by 2025, and currently they would be at 197 extra flop. So this is like not quite this is pretty much a 50% increase. A little bit more than 50%, I would say, because they're at 197 now and they want to get to 300. But the most interesting part I found about this article was China has found that traditionally everyone yuan invested in computing power has driven 3 to 4 yuan of economic output. So to put that in perspective, every one currency that they've put in has led to a 3 to 400% increase in economic output, right? That's insane return. They're essentially 3xing, 4xing their return on their computing power in terms of how it benefits their economy. And I can't think of something that has that kind of return. So obviously this is like massive, increasing their ability for growth by 50% in 2 years will be a significant boost to their economy. And the investments echo China's plans to drive economic output through leadership in technology prowess and integrating AI with existing technologies and solutions across all industries and domains. Technologies like semiconductors and AI have become key battlegrounds in tech. China aims to invest in growing in its computing power, especially the AI, as it sees its major cloud providers launching AI solutions en masse for consumers and enterprises, Bassi said. So the main goal is like data centers, memory storage, networks for transmitting data, like all key stuff. So it's mainly targeting like cloud gaming as well and everything. But this goes into education and everything everywhere. I feel like more countries need to do this. I'll give China this one thing. They are especially good at investing in their own economic growth. From that perspective of economic growth, like their plans are long term, right? Where everyone else is arguing and plans only go from the term of office, right? They plan for the next 4 years. That's what every campaign is when you look at it, right? There's never really any long-term plans for the growth of most of the Western nations, especially when I think of like the UK and the US. There's never really long-term plans for growth, whereas China will implement like a 10-year plan, a 25-year plan, a 50-year plan. I'll be interested to see where this goes. Let me know what you think about this one down below, about China increasing their computing power. And also, let me know what you think about that 300 to like 400% return, right? Because they're 3xing, like 4xing their investment on this stuff. That's insane to me. But anyways, guys, thanks for watching the video. As always, like, comment, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you for being here, and I will see you guys in the next one.